It's La Casa. It's Monday, the almost September. This weekend was the moratorium, the 24th, 23rd. Ayer, yeah, yesterday. We had the moratorium in San Francisco, over there at Hummingbird Farm. Um, it was really nice to see the elders that are still continuing to go. A lot of them were not there, and some have gone real recently. And so, the new group that was coming up and, providing this event or organizing it, some of them were, well, younger than me, right? Younger than me. Pero, and there was real young ones too. Well, they've always been real young, but there's younger ones, which is good, right? Because it's a continuation of our community, our culture, and that's what I noticed yesterday at the sunrise for Chicano Moratorium. And one of the elders who's been the most, I think, consistent, I guess, I'm going to say that, Concha Saucedo, she was saying, because she opened up the ceremony and she said 66 years ago. And bam, 66 years ago is when the Chicano Moratorium took place in Los Angeles. They marched down Whittier and went to some park, and allí fue un desmadre. La policía said that they were chasing this one guy who had robbed a liquor store, and that he ran into the middle of the crowd at the park. And because of that, they just happened to have, their canisters of smoke, and, they shot, I guess, rubber bullets and bean bags into the crowd. No sé qué they shot in there, but ya ves that pura, desmadre, right? I hate to say like desmadre mothers, but yes, that's the way we speak. And they shot into the crowd of people, and they killed two people there, and then they killed another person at the Silver Dollar Saloon, una cantina. And this guy was on the phone. He was a journalist, and I always tell you, when you look at life, I mean, you gotta take from here and take from there and take from here and take from there, and then put it together yourself. Because right now I've been off of social media for about a week or 2 weeks. They kicked me off of Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. And I don't see anything that's going on in the world through the media that I'm currently using. But going back to the moratorium, the elders, and Concha, when she said that, 66 years, I thought, wow, it's been a while. I'm 61. So, wow. I'm glad to be here, knock on wood. Hope this is wood. Pero, wow, 66 years since the Chicano moratorium. And I mentioned, my Facebook account, my Instagram account, my Messenger account. They cut me, right? They took me offline. They said that I was showing like images of little kids or something. I go, the little kids were hanging on to the president of the United States. The little kids were naked in front of him. These little, you know what I mean? He's the fucking pedophile. Like, and then I'm like getting blamed for it, right? And I didn't even share those pictures. I didn't make those pictures. I didn't create those images, right? I didn't create those images. Um, they created the images. Whoever created the images, I just shared them. And now I was the one that was guilty of sharing that, like making that up. The dude freaking is hanging out with little girls. If that's not freaking, we shouldn't know about that, then I'm sorry, what should we know about? You know? Damn. The president is hanging out with little girls. He raped little kids. And I'm the one that gets banned from Facebook and Instagram and stuff. And that whole body of those people, Epstein Island, and Epstein ain't even dead, and they're showing some dude that looks like him, but he says it's not him. That dude that said that they said is him, and he's the dude that says he's not him, but they say he's him, bought the same house that he owned, Epstein owned. I mean, it's like, we used to take acid back in the days. This is like a big trip that they're putting us on. It's like, wow, for reals? All of this evidence is there, but it's not real? I'm like, whoa. I mean, I went to law school. I mean, I don't try to freaking tell me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. It's evidence is there. It's there. It's right there in front of us. But why don't we as people figure it out? Why don't we figure it out? As I was mentioning, I've been off for about a week or two, and I don't see any of the stuff that I saw on Instagram and Facebook and that was getting shared on Messenger. I don't see any of that stuff on channel 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 100. Nada. I don't see it on Sports Channel. I don't see it nowhere. Jasmine Crockett, para mí, off of Facebook is not even alive. But on Facebook and Instagram, that's where I got to know who she was. A senator from Texas, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. If it wasn't for Instagram and Facebook and Messenger, I don't see him on regular TV ever. I'm on Xfinity, and it's another world. And I can imagine la gente who isn't open to social media, they don't see it, and their view is a little bit. So it's in a funny way. People talk about social media like, wow, it's bad for you. The truth, though, is that I was spending too much time on it. Or maybe not too much time. Maybe if I would have been getting paid, I would have been a job, right? I would have been a part-time worker. That's how many hours I was using a day. 3 to 4 to 5 hours a day sometimes. Not that I was on it constantly, but it was on. Like, I'll be mopping the floor and at the bakery where I work at, and I'll be listening to, Bernie Sanders, or I'll be listening to the latest, reality TV show of the president, or I'll be or somebody will send me a YouTube video. So I went to YouTube. I'm on YouTube. And on YouTube, my handle is La Espina del Norte. And if you look about on YouTube, on my YouTube account, you'll see why I was La Espina del Norte and how I went on and on. But so I'm on YouTube right now with La Espina del Norte. But again, you don't get the information that you see on the internet, on regular TV or in the newspaper, etc. For example, there on HBO, there's a thing called something, The Hands of God or something. It's like a documentary on this reptile pet shop that was in Miami. It turned out that it was a smuggling, cocaine smuggling organization ran by, some white men, and it was a part of a larger operation that was run by these army guys that were like anti-Castro, and they would ship it to Florida, and that's how you get this Cuban community of politicians. And you know who I'm talking about, Narco Rubio, right? His family was part of that whole scandal. But of course, they wash their hands and they move on. And at the same time, the president is pardoning hundreds of people, and our raza is getting busted for, 20 bags of chiva, a hit of whatever. But and they're doing like 50 years, right? And then they get in there and they gotta work because they gotta stay safe. So now they're in there for life. And so, they're not, this America is not our America. I told you I started this La Casa with Chicano Moratorium. I was at the Hummingbird Farm, and Hummingbird Farm now, and when it first started like 15 years ago, is totally transformed. It was dry land. Right now I was watering my plants and the water went down to the next neighbor's house, and they're mad at me because I'm raining on their show and stuff. And the guy told me that, I told him that my Romero, it didn't last. I had thought Romero needed a lot of water, but he told me that Romero didn't need a lot of water. And yesterday at the sunrise, I saw the Romero at the farm at Hummingbird. It was green, like green like this, the Romero. My Romero was, it wasn't no greener than this. It wasn't every green. And he told me, he goes, they don't need a lot of water, but I thought they needed water, so I gave it a lot of water always. And in the end, it's not there no more. It didn't make it. But again, that whole experience that I had yesterday at the Chicano Moratorium, I was getting ready to do the Aztec dancing, and I was putting on my headdress and my outfit, and I got ready, and I carried the palabra for that event, and I go, am I in paradise or what? You know what I mean? Like, I'm dancing, I got all my feathers on my head and my outfit on, I feel good, the sun is strong, the elders are there, the people are getting ready to dance, the tables of food, they have vegetarian, they have todo. Oh man, then the farm around over there, you see sunflowers, you see everything. There's a willow tree over there. And then over there on the other side of the parking lot, all these raza are playing soccer. There's like 5 games going on of soccer. Now again, what world do we want to choose? This world where these guys are profiting off of, what do you call it? Nickelodeon, YouTube? What is that thing, that Bitcoin? They're invading Venezuela to get their oil. They got billions of dollars. Supposedly the president put it into a private account. They're getting free air jets from Qatar, todo esa desmadre. It's like, what the hell? They take down the White House, which was never anybody's house. It was a slave house. And they're running in the streets with electric gloves, grabbing La Raza women. They're grabbing women with these gloves and electrocuting them. And they have like these detention camps where they're raping women. They're raping them, and nadie dice nada. Um, it's sad. To me, it's sad that throughout all of our first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, we're pledging to allegiance. We're trying to fit into white America. We're trying to be good gabachos. Translation, good white people, right? We're trying to, do our best. Some people believe in their adults that they're, that they have this connection to this government, to this. They join the police. They join the army. They join all these places because they want to be better Americans or to be seen as American. And the big niche is that would they do that if they weren't getting paid? Would you protect your community if you weren't getting paid? Would you go and fight another country if you were not getting paid? Would you train for hours, and would you do that if you were not getting paid? Would you do that? You see all those people joining. You see black people, Chinese, Latino joining ICE, and they're out there on the streets. They're not embarrassed to be doing that to their own. They've somehow lost their identity. Somehow they lost it. And what triggers me is when I see all these white people on this street where I live at, carefree, going to the next party. It's like for them, it's safe now. Like it's safe for white people to be outside. Like they're protected. I mean, you see the blondest blonde now, which before you wouldn't see. You see this. Already they were undercover buying all the property. And that is what's happening, The white people's economy is getting stronger, and we're getting pushed out of areas like San Francisco. And that's what is the bottom of that whole thing that's happening. Because remember when you would hear about racism, like when somebody applied for a job, I want to apply for a job as head waiter, at our level, right? And you've been working there 20 years, and you're the fucking tip master. They give you tips like crazy. But here comes this white person who's only freaking been there a week, and they make that person the head waiter. And that's the way it's always been. So that's the racism that we've come from. And when you see what's happening, it's going to happen again at another level. Oh, we don't discriminate here. At some level, it'll even become that our own people will be discriminating against our own people. And they would rather hire, a non-Latino. So, where does this all go? Well, part of it, I was just speaking with a newspaper giant here in the Mission, who was the department chair of the guardsmen, well, the department chair of journalism at City College for over, I'm thinking 20 years, over that. And he has a, well, he doesn't, he founded a newspaper down here in the Mission. And 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 um, so they do journalism, you know. And what happens when that 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 part of your community doesn't exist, when it's not covering your daily um, events, when it's not covering your issues, when it's not talking about you, and on top of that, mainstream media ain't talking about you. The only time they talk about you is like Facebook and Instagram, when you are the problem, when they are arresting you. They're arresting you, so now you don't even want to be you. I got to the point where I can't even go to my freaking hometown because I'm like fucking worried that if I go down there, because there people are getting busted on a daily, that, you know, freaking, at least here I know who the freaking neighbors are. Over there I'll be outside and they wouldn't even take a second look at me. It's always been that way, regardless of whether we were in this kind of situation or not. Neighbors do not help neighbors. And I get it. I get it. You don't want to be involved. You don't want to be a witness. You don't want to be all that. And that's the way it is. And I'm not changing that in 20 minutes. Pero, yeah, you know, this man that I just was talking about, he is a pillar of this community, and hopefully, knock on wood, continues to be. And so with that said, the guy who got killed in the Silver Dollar Saloon on that we now commemorate Chicano Moratorium. Chicano Moratorium was because we wanted to stop Chicanos from being killed in the Vietnam War. They were getting killed at a higher percentage than the other people were getting killed. So if 100% of the Mexicanos that went into the military, 50% died, in comparison to 100% of the whites who went in, and only 10% died. It was really because they were racist assholes in the military, sending Chicanos, Latinos to the front line. And back then, there were more Mexicanos than other razas in the United States. And the guy who got killed in the Silver Dollar Saloon, who was covering the Chicano Moratorium that day, he was a reporter named Ruben Salazar. He was a reporter for the Los Angeles Times. And he, you can look him up. He's in the Chicano studies curriculums. He's in their books. He was one of the only Chicanos who was a journalist at that time covering Chicano issues. And that was very important for us to have people like Ruben Salazar. And they killed him in LA. So let's not be innocent and naive, and let's not be, thinking that, oh, he must have done something wrong. I was telling that the person who founded that newspaper down here in the neighborhood, I used to have a neighborhood. I mean, I used to have a newspaper called La Espina del Norte. That's how I made my YouTube channel, because I had a paper before I did radio. Um, I had this newspaper called La Espina del Norte. Now, I told him today, because we're talking about Chisme de Barrio, and I told him that, when I would write on that newspaper, this one guy came up to me and he says, "Why do you write so angry?" And I told the guy, I go, "I'm not writing angry. I don't know where my words sound angry. If I'm reporting that on this street there are more Latinos being pulled over by La Chota, La Jura, La Placa, if there are more Latinos getting pulled over than Gabachos," because when I was writing the newspaper, I was part of an article that talked about how Latinos in that street were getting pulled over at a higher rate than white people were, and many times their cars were being impounded, and likely it was because of racial profiling. I interviewed this one gringo gabacho who was like an activist of that area. He says, "I haven't registered my car in like 2 years, and I haven't gotten pulled over," and he lives in that same barrio, and they haven't pulled him over. That's racism, dude. Come on. That's discrimination. That's racial profiling. And if I wrote that, people would say, "I'm angry." And somehow you would see this face in that news article saying that's wrong. Because it is wrong. Well, Becerra's running for governor, and it's almost time. We're gonna vote Becerra. I'm tired of freaking walking on eggshells and not claiming Becerra. We gotta do it. We gotta go with Becerra because he's the only logical alternative. There's a Republican running against Becerra. Por favor, raza, don't be naive. Don't be innocent. So if this guy doesn't turn out the way you thought he was, well, don't worry about it. Maybe the neighbor will think about running in the future because a brown guy ran for it this time and he won it, and then in the future another brown guy run it, and maybe he won't be as good as anybody, but he'll run, and then other brown people will be running, and we are the majority in California, in the Southwest, and if we don't take over our communities, we're gonna be continually be discriminated and not get, and our raza will not want to be raza. We already went through that. We went through assimilation and acculturation. Let's not continue that.